Good day, everyone. Welcome to our special report on sustainable development.
In today's world, economies are facing uncertainty, crisis, and environmental challenges. But how do we move forward?
Join us as we explore stability, sustainability, and the future of global economic systems.
Let's begin with a look at the global economic crisis that shape our modern world.
We now go live to Mr. Merhujo. What happened during the 2007 global crisis?
Thank you. The global economy in the early 21st century faced a period of extreme uncertainty and instability. The 2007 global financial crisis was not just a typical economic slowdown, it was a severe and widespread breakdown of financial systems, particularly in major economies like the United States and parts of Europe. The crisis was largely triggered by the collapse of the housing market in the United States. Risky lending practices, especially subprime mortgages, led to millions of defaults. Banks and financial institutions had heavily invested in these high-risk loans, and when borrowers could no longer pay, it created a ripple effect across the global financial system. As a result, major financial markets collapsed, stock prices plunged, and several large institutions either failed or required government bailouts. Businesses shut down or scaled back operations, which caused unemployment rates to rise sharply. Millions of people around the world lost their jobs, and many families struggled to afford basic needs. At the same time, inequality worsened. While some large corporations were rescued, ordinary citizens bore the brunt of the crisis. The middle class began to shrink and poverty levels increased in many countries. Economic recovery was slow and uneven, affecting both developed and developing nations. Governments attempted to respond through stimulus packages, bailouts, and policy reforms. However, these efforts were often criticized as insufficient or too slow. Meanwhile, national debts increased significantly as countries borrowed heavily to stabilize their economies, leading to long-term financial challenges.
That sounds alarming, but was this crisis predicted?
Ms. Patricia is here to explain.
Yes, sociologist Ulrich Beck described modern society as a risk society, a concept that helps us understand the challenges of today's world. According to Beck, as societies become more advanced through technology, industrialization, and globalization, they don't just create progress, they also produce new kinds of risks. These include financial crises like the one in 2007, environmental issues such as climate change, and growing concerns over resource shortages like food, water, and energy. What makes these risks different is that they are no longer confined to one country or region. Instead, they are global in nature and interconnected. For example, a financial collapse in one country can quickly spread to others, just as environmental problems can affect the entire planet. Because of this, modern society has become more unpredictable and complex. Managing these risks requires not only economic solutions, but also global cooperations, better policies, and long-term planning.
So clearly, managing the economy requires stability. Let's explore that next.
Mr. Flores joins us now. What is economic stability?
Economic stability refers to a condition where an economy avoids extreme ups and downs such as sudden crash or rapid inflation. Instead, it maintains a balanced and predictable level of growth over time. According to the International Monetary Fund's, economic stability is achieved when there is low and controlled inflation, steady economic growth, and well-functioning stable financial markets. This means business can operate with confidence, investment, and courage, and people can rely on stable present and employment opportunities. However, it's important to understand that economies naturally moves in cycles. This is known as the business cycle, a pattern of expansion or growth followed by slowdown or recession and eventually recovery. The cycle are normal part of economic activity, but their severity can vary. A major historical example of extreme stability is the Great Depression, which began in 1929. During this period, economies around the world experienced massive declines in production, widespread unemployment, and severe poverty. It shows how devastating economic stability can be when not properly managed. Because of these cycles and risks, maintaining stability is one of the main goals of government and economists. They aim to reduce the intensity of recession and prevent economies from overheating during periods of rapid growth.
Given these cycles, how do economists try to maintain stability?
Mr. Bantillo, can you explain how economists try to maintain stability?
Certainly, over time, economists have developed different theories to manage economic instability. One major idea is monetarism, strongly associated with economist Milton Friedman. Friedman argued that the key to a stable economy lies in controlling the money supply. According to monetarism, when too much money circulates, it can lead to inflation, while too little can slow down economic growth. By carefully regulating the amount of money in the economy, often through central banks, government can help maintain price stability and steady growth. Another influential idea is neoliberalism, which emphasizes free market competition and privatization, and minimal government intervention in the economy. Supporters believe that when markets are left to operate freely, they become more efficient and innovative. Neoliberal policies became especially prominent during the leadership of Ronald Reagan in the United States of Margaret Thatcher in the United Kingdom. Their governments promoted tax cuts, deregulation, and reduced public spending, aiming to stimulate economic growth and encourage private sector development. While these theories have influenced economic policy around the world, they are not without criticism. Some argue that too much reliance on free markets can increase inequality and reduce government capacity to respond to crises.
But despite these theories, crises still happened, right?
Mr. Chan, tell us more about this global crisis.
Yes, even after adopting major economic theories like monetarism and neoliberalism, the world continued to experience a series of financial crises, showing that no single approach can completely prevent instability. Some key examples include the Asian financial crisis, which began in Thailand and quickly spread across East and Southeast Asia. Currency collapsed, stock markets fell, and many businesses shut down, leading to widespread unemployment and economic hardship. Another example is the Russian financial crisis, where Russia defaulted on its debt and devaluated its currency. This caused panic in global markets and affected investors worldwide. We also saw the Argentine economic crisis, where Argentina faced massive debt, highly unemployed, and social unrest. The government eventually defaulted on its loans, leading to a deep and prolonged recession. With this crisis, have in common is how quickly they spread beyond their country of origin, because global economics are highly interconnected through trade, investment, financial systems, and crisis, and one nation can create instability in others. This phenomenon is known as the contingency effect, where financial shocks ripple across borders, much like a chain reaction.
So stability alone isn't enough. What about long-term solutions?
We now go to Mr. Dalarama. What can you tell us about the long-term solutions?
Sustainability focuses on long-term development rather than just short-term economic stability. While stability aims to manage immediate risks and fluctuations, sustainability looks at how economic growth and thrive over time without creating future problems. According to the World Commission on Environment and Development, sustainable development is defined as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. This definition highlights the importance of thinking beyond immediate gains and considering long-term impacts. In practice, this means balancing three key areas: economic growth, environmental protection, and social well-being. Economics must continue to grow to provide jobs and improve living standards. But this growth should not come at the expense of natural resources or the environment. For example, industries are now being encouraged to adopt cleaner technologies, reduce carbon emissions, and use renewable energy resources. At the same time, governments and organizations are promoting inclusive growth, ensuring that the benefits of development are shared more equally across society. Sustainability also involves responsible consumption, efficient use of resources, and long-term planning in both public and private sectors. Without these efforts, economic growth today could lead to environment damage, resource depletion, and greater inequality in the future.
That's interesting. But sustainability also involves environmental concerns, correct?
Mr. Alonzo, your final thoughts?
Yes, today, sustainability is no longer just about economic growth. It strongly focuses on environmental protection and the long-term health of the world. One important concept is the strategy of the commons, which explains how shared resources, such as oceans, forests, and clean air, are often overused when individuals act on their own self-interest. In free markets, without proper regulation, people and businesses may exploit these resources excessively, leading to depletion and environmental damages. Another key idea comes from the limit to growth, the study that warned about the consequences of continuous economic and population growth. It showed that if current patterns continue, the world could face serious problems such as resource depletion, environmental degradation, and declining living standards. Because of these concerns, countries around the world have started working together to address global environmental challenges. International agreements and organizations promote action like reducing carbon emissions, protecting biodiversity, and shifting towards renewable energy resources. Today, sustainability also includes major issues such as overpopulations, resource scarcity, and climate change. As the global population continues to grow, the demand for food, water, and energy increases, putting even more pressure on the planet's limited resources. This is why modern economies are now being encouraged to adopt sustainable practices, balancing growth with environmental responsibility and social equity. The goal is not just to grow, but to grow wisely and ensure that future generations can still meet their needs.
So, in conclusion, while economic stability helps manage short-term risk, true progress depends on sustainable and responsible growth. Thank you to our reporters for those insightful discussions.
To summarize, stability focuses on short-term balance. Sustainability focuses on long-term survival.
Achieving both is essential for a better future.
As global citizens, we all play a role in building sustainable economic systems.
This has been our special report on sustainable development.
Thank you for watching.
And ideas allow economies to grow without necessarily Ang bilis.
So clear.
Nakatingin lang ako dito. Tinitignan ko ano. Guys, last na to. Isang round na to. Okay na.
Ano yung direct? Ano yung direct?
Lakin daw sabi direct. Bakit na?
Susten. Ayun yung dati eh. Kuya ko nag-alaga.